Hi, my name is Joseph Parker, WBA Champion of the World, and you're watching Sporting Icons.
Right, so a very, very happy and prosperous new year to each and every one of you, including the haters, of course. Hello there. I hope that 2021 brings you guys much more health and, of course, fortune and everything like that you all wish for in 2021, much more than it probably did in 2020, right? Hopefully we can all put 2020 behind us under lock and key. We'll have to wait and see how 2021 pans out. Now, on this one, I thought we'd do the WBA World Heavyweight Rankings because they are an absolute shower of absolute pony. They really are. I haven't seen rankings like this in a long, long time. So WBA, stand up, take a bow. You are the absolute plums of the new year because these rankings are terrible. It seems like whoever come out with these rankings is either A, clueless, or B, taking some kind of pay or doing favoritism to certain fighters depending on who they're managed by, who they're promoted by, all that kind of stuff, because these are absolute crap. Now, recently I did the Ring Magazine and I did the WBO. Those two videos will pop up as this video goes along. Always wait until the very, very end, and one of the two will pop up at the very end, just so that you're fully clued up with what's going on in the heavyweight division. Now, I'm doing this video not just because it's absolute pony, but because I actually did the whole rankings prior to me recording this video. And as I'm going through the WBA, I stopped because that video was actually about 25 minutes long when I went through all the rankings. And the reason I stopped is because the WBA shocked me as to how terrible they actually are when you look at it in depth. So anyway, make sure you click a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Makes no difference. A vote is a vote. They're both exactly the same. Puts this video into recommendation. Make sure you are subscribed. Now, the super champion is Anthony Joshua, as I'm sure most of you already know. Manuel Charr, if I can speak. Manuel Charr is the WBA World Champion, the regular champion. Number 1 is Trevor Bryan. Number 2, Oleksandr Usyk. 3, Deontay Wilder. 4, Luis Ortiz. 5, Andy Ruiz Jr. 6, Adam Kanaki. 7, Charles Martin. 8, Chris Ariola. 9, Bogdan Dinu. 10, Michael Hunter. 11, Kubra Pulev. 12, Felipekovic. 13, Sergey Kuzmin. 14, Frank Sanchez. And finishing off top 15 is Derek Jizora. Now, before we start going in on the WBA and criticising them, a couple of things that each time that I do the rankings, people do tend to ask the same kind of questions. Because at the end of the day, there are some new boxing fans here. Nobody knows some of the obvious ones, okay? Now, some people will say, why is it that Tyson Fury is not ranked here? Because he's WBC champion, okay? If you are a champion of another sanctioned body, you can't be ranked here unless you hold that belt too, okay? So, Tyson Fury, WBC champion, not ranked here. Oleksandr Povetkin, not ranked here because he's WBC interim world heavyweight champion. The interim champion can replace the full champion at any point, whether it be that, say, for example, Tyson Fury gets stripped or vacates the belt. Currently, Povetkin will become the full champion. That's why he's not ranked in the WBA. Much like Dillian Whyte, of course, former interim world heavyweight champion for WBC, and he's got a rematch with Povetkin. That's why Dillian Whyte is also not on these rankings. Okay, now going down the list, Anthony Joshua is the super champion. I'm sure you're fully aware of that. And Manuel Charr is the regular champion. Now, when you look at the history of the WBA and all the world champions that they've had, Manuel Charr's belt is the one with the history, not the belt that Joshua has. Okay, the belt that Joshua has is a newly created super champion. This was created by the WBA, much like the WBO was supposed to have done as well, and they haven't really followed their own original guidelines, which is that any mandatory that comes through is supposed to go through currently Manuel Charr. Okay, so it relieves some pressure on the full champion, so he can concentrate on unifying or whatever it may be. Hasn't quite been working out that way, has he? Because Manuel Charr didn't have to fight Povetkin, did he? Anthony Joshua did. Okay. It is what it is. Manuel Charr should not be the WBA regular champion. Manuel Charr should not be ranked in the top 15. Manuel Charr should not be ranked in the top 30. To be honest with you, not because he's no good or anything, well, partly, but because he hasn't had a fight in how long? 2 years, maybe 3 years. In fact, I'm pretty sure the last time he fought, please somebody look for me, I should have really done that before I started this video, was when he defeated Oleksandr Usyk to become this particular champion. How long ago was that? Was that 2-3 years ago? Maybe 2 years ago. He hasn't had a fight since. In that time, he's failed a PED test. He's had it overturned. He's had numerous opportunities to fight certain fighters, and he hasn't done it. So why is he champion? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. How do you even get that shot to start with? Makes no sense to me. How did Oleksandr Usyk get into the final to fight him? None of it made sense. Previous to that was Lucas Browne was a champion. Shannon Briggs was knocking on the door for all that. It's an absolute joke of a belt. It's an absolute joke of it. Now, if Manu Chao wants to be champion and the WBA want this to be some kind of legitimate belt again, then you need to either A, strip him and put it on the line, for example, a Wilder versus a Ruiz Jr, for example. That's the kind of fight that would warrant a WBA regular belt, okay? Or force Manu Chao to take on someone decent, like a Ruiz Jr, like a Michael Hunter, or a Felipekovic, or a Wilder, whatever it may be. Force him to fight someone. Don't just let him fight whoever it is that he wants to fight. Or, most importantly, fight nobody. Absolute joke, absolute joke. Number one, Trevor Bryan. Absolute joke as well. Now, you can look at it and go, but he's 20-0, and he is the mandatory challenger for Manu Chao, and he is a American undefeated heavyweight, yada, yada. Again, he hasn't fought in 2-3 years. He hasn't fought. And those who he have fought beforehand, who stands out and goes, oh, that was an excellent win. But why is he there? Well, why is he there? It's because he's a Don King fighter. Don King quite clearly has a lot of sway when it comes to the WBA, Mendoza and so. So why is it that Trevor Bryan's there? That's the only reason I could possibly think of. It's an absolute shower of shit, is what it is. It's crap. WBA, you should be ashamed of yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and slap yourself in the mouth, because this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Number two, Oleksandr Usyk. Now, had he not been the WBO mandatory, I don't have a problem with that kind of position. He was undisputed champion at cruiserweight, of course, and currently 2-0 as a heavyweight, undefeated. But because he's going down the WBO route, because he's the WBO mandatory, he shouldn't be ranked in the WBA. That's the truth of it. Because he's not fighting for any kind of belt with the WBO. Sorry, the WBA. He's not fighting anybody for a position in the WBA. He's the WBO position. So if say for example, Povetkin and Dillian Whyte not ranked here because they're WBC, Usyk shouldn't be ranked here because he's WBO. That's the top and tail of it, isn't it? Again, waste of a ranking. Number three, Deontay Wilder. Okay, so I don't really rate Wilder that high. I never have. Outside of that one punch, he brings not much else. So, but in truth, he is WBC former champion, isn't he? So yes, now he's no longer champion. Sure, he can be ranked in other sanctioning bodies. And by the looks of it, you should really be removing Trevor Bryan. You should really be removing Oleksandr Usyk and putting Wilder as your number one. In truth, correct? If we're to go by their ranking and start bumping people up in order, Wilder should be number one. He should be forced to fight Manu Chao for that belt, in my honest opinion. Okay? Or strip Manu Chao and have Wilder versus Ruiz Jr. for the vacant belt. Why not? But number three is a poor position only because Usyk and Trevor Bryan shouldn't be there. Number four, Luis Ortiz. Effectively, if we're to go by what it is I've just said, he'd be number two. Absolute joke. In fact, it's a joke for him to be even number four. How do you be number four when you've been knocked out 2 of your last 6 fights? How? Who's he beat to warrant this position? What, because he's Cuban, because he had a long amateur career, 350 fights, whatever it was? Okay, but he didn't achieve anything. He didn't win anything as an amateur. That's probably the most important part. He didn't. You can have as many fights as you like. If you don't win nothing, then what gives that a good resume? As a heavyweight, okay, he's lost 2 times, both to Deontay Wilder for the WBC belt. But he's turned down numerous fights with Dillian Whyte. He's turned down fights with Anthony Joshua, most likely for like a 7 million. The Dillian Whyte one was 2 million again. And he's turned down a couple of other ones in that as well before. So who's he beat? It's worrying when your best win is 5 years ago against Bryant Jennings, who the fight before lost to Vladimir Klitschko. Luis Ortiz, step up and earn this position, or he should be dropped from this position. If Luis Ortiz isn't fighting somebody in the top 10, according to these rankings next, he should be dropped from that position. It's a joke of a position, absolute joke. Number 5, Ruiz Jr. That's probably a fair position, to be fair. Probably a fair position. because he is former unified heavyweight world champion. He does have a win over Ruiz Jr. Yes, he has 2 losses on his resume. One to Joseph Parker originally, and of course the rematch with Anthony Joshua. His next fight will be against Chris Ariola. Okay, it's somewhat of a comeback fight. Yes, he does have a new trainer in Eddie Reynoso, who also trains Ryan Garcia and Saul Canelo Alvarez, and I think still Frank Sanchez. So I don't have a problem with that position, but again, let's see Ruiz Jr. after Chris Ariola go fight somebody who's alive. Okay, number 6, Adam Kanaki. Now, I don't have a problem with him being ranked quite highly. I like Adam Kanaki. I think Adam Kanaki is a very, very good fighter. Yes, his last fight, he did get stopped by Robert Helenius. For me, that gives a lot of credit to, say, Dillian Whyte for his win over Robert Helenius and what have you. But I think that because he lost to Robert Helenius, surely Robert Helenius should at least be ranked somewhere in the top 15. But he's not. How's Robert Helenius knock out Adam Kanaki, but doesn't get ranked in the top 15, and Adam Kanaki's ranked number 6? I know they've got a rematch coming up, apparently. But currently, Robert Helenius should be in there, not Adam Kanaki. That's the truth of it, yes? So why is he ranked there? I don't know. I mean, I'm starting to see a little bit of a pattern here. Seems to be quite top-heavy with PBC fighters, don't they? I mean, is Trevor Bryan, is he a PBC fighter? I'm not sure. No, I don't think he actually is. Wilder is, Ortiz is, Ruiz Jr. is, Adam Kanaki is, Charles Martin is, Chris Ariola is. Frank Sanchez kind of is, although his next fight is on DAZN, unless he's already had that fight. I've forgotten. But seems to be PBC quite heavy, doesn't it? But it is what it is. For me, Kanaki should not be ranked that high because he lost his last fight. Or at least, I mean, personally, I don't mind him being that high, to be fair. But I think that Robert Helenius should at least be in the top 15 because he has a win over Adam Kanaki. Correct? Number 7, Charles Martin. Charles Martin gets a lot of stick. Charles Martin, most people remember him for the Joshua fight where he sat down, previously walked himself like a god, all that kind of stuff. He's actually much better than people give him credit for. So I don't have too much of a problem with him being ranked in the top 15. I have a bit of an issue him being ranked in the top 10. And I certainly have a issue with him being ranked number 7. And if we were to go by what it is that I said, that Trevor Bryan and Oleksandr Usyk shouldn't be there, technically Charles Martin would be number 5 then, wouldn't he? That's garbage. Absolute garbage. But who's Charles Martin fighting next? No idea. In my opinion, he's probably going to end up fighting Deontay Wilder. Number 8, Chris Ariola. Do me a fucking... You what? Chris Ariola. A guy with 6 losses on his resume and a draw. 2 of those to Bermane Vern. The other one, yes, okay, was to Deontay Wilder. But Chris Ariola, I mean, he ain't no good. It's got nothing to do with age. It's got to do with the fact that his body's broken down. It's got to do with the fact that he doesn't really train properly. It's got to do with the fact that he was never that good to start with. Chris Ariola, ranked that high. Really? Number 8. Absolute clowns, you WBA. Moving on. Number 9, Bogdan Dinu. Again, Bogdan Dinu. Okay, Romanian heavyweight. Okay, cool. Just because maybe some people don't know who some of the European fighters now are, doesn't mean that they're no good, okay? But Bogdan Dinu, we know who he is because he fought and got starched and defeated by Big Baby Jarrell Miller. Was Miller on PDs at the time? We don't know. But also Kubra Pulev in the very next fight. So he took 2 losses back-to-back. Recently. So why is it that Bogdan Dinu is there? Who's he beat, by the way? Who? I mean, prior to him losing to Big Baby Jarrell Miller, he was meant to be fighting Tom Little, wasn't he, over there in Bulgaria? And had he have defeated Tom Little, that would be his best win. But yet, he's number 9 in the WBA. Number 9 in the world, according to the WBA. Bogdan freaking Dinu. In my opinion, everybody here, with the outside of maybe Manuel Charr and Trevor Bryan, would defeat Bogdan Dinu. Everyone. Moving on. Number 10, Michael Hunter. I don't have a problem with if people put Michael Hunter in the top 10 in the world. Don't have a problem with that whatsoever. I can't argue with that position. But I can argue with it when you've got Bogdan Dinu ahead of him. Chris Ariola ahead of him, Charles Martin ahead of him, Adam Kanaki ahead of him, and Trevor Bryan ahead of him. Oleksandr Usyk, yes, because he has fought and defeated Michael Hunter at cruiserweight, but again, Oleksandr Usyk's WBO, so why is he even here? Michael Hunter should be top 5, really, shouldn't he? According to their rankings, he should be top 5. Will Chris Ariola, Bogdan Dinu beat Michael Hunter? Absolutely not. Not in your life. No chance in hell are they defeating Michael Hunter. Sure, everyone's got a puncher's chance, but outside of that, absolutely not. Number 11, Kubra Pulev. So he gets knocked out after getting dominated by Anthony Joshua. Okay, it is what it is. Gets bumped down to number 11. Is that a bad position? Not really. I don't have a problem with that at all, really. Number 12, Felipekovic, undefeated 12-0, Croatian. He's got a couple of good wins on his resume. In fact, he's meant to be fighting Michael Hunter next. Is that signed, sealed, and soon to be delivered? We'll have to wait and find out. But that'll be an interesting fight. That is for sure. That'll be a very, very interesting fight. And for me, I don't have a problem with Felipekovic being number 12. But I do have a problem with him being behind some of these other fighters, as I've already explained. Sergey Kuzmin. Sergey Kuzmin, again, loses to Martin Bakole last fight. But Martin Bakole is not even in the top 15, but Sergey Kuzmin's number 13. Sergey Kuzmin, who has 2 defeats on his resume. Okay, one of them was to Michael Hunter previously, and then Martin Bakole. Michael Hunter has also defeated Martin Bakole. But Martin Bacole's only got 1 loss on his resume. Sergey Kuzmin's got 2. Recently, 2 losses on his resume as well. Not like they've been quite some time ago, but they're quite recent. So why is he on there, number 13, and Martin Bakole is not? It's a joke, isn't it? Absolute joke. Frank Sanchez again, 17-0. Cuban, is he there? Why? Based on what? Who's he beat? He's been fighting journeymen. I'm not saying that Frank Sanchez is no good. We don't know. But again, people seem to get this delusion because he's Cuban, because he's had some decent amateur experience, that he's of a said level. Well, we don't know that. Much like Luis Ortiz. He never achieved as an amateur and hasn't achieved as a pro. So what makes you think Frank Sanchez is going to do the same? Maybe under the guidance of Eddie Reynoso, if he's still with him. Maybe. But again, let's see. Let's see him justify this position. Maybe he's going to go on and become the next best thing. I don't know. Personally, I think he's a lot older than what they're portraying him to be anyway, but that doesn't matter. Age is age. Number 15, Derek Jizora. Derek Chizora's got 10 losses on his resume. Is he a number 15 in the world? We could be biased and say, but we like Derek Chisora, so why not? But that's just being biased. Truth is, every time he stepped up, he's got beat. Every single time. Every time. His best win is Carlos Takam. Then maybe Artur Spilka. Maybe Sexton back in the day or something. But every time he stepped up, he's lost. Twice to Dillian Whyte. Twice to Tyson Fury. Oleksandr Usyk last time out. Kubra Pulev. Robert Helenius, and so forth. He's always lost, so is he a top 15? My bias would go, cool. Excellent stuff, Derek, but truth is, not really. Anyway, these are the rankings for the WBA, and I'm quite sure that you agree. They are absolute pony. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe, catch you all in the next video.